Be giving you my review for Babylon, discussing why I liked it, and why the ending of the film is another great demonstration of how Chazelle can construct a passionate final message about the industry. Before I get into it though, if you want to see more videos on upcoming theatrical releases and the latest auteur-driven projects, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's dive into my review for Babylon. Some have accused Damien Chazelle of being too sentimental towards Hollywood in the past, but I think that the filmmaker has reminded us with Babylon that the transitional period of the film industry was much more than just nostalgic. The ending of the film shows us that Chazelle may yes have a sense of nostalgia for cinema's transformation, but one that comes with personal affection and a huge passion too, and that really struck a chord with me. We learn in the film that this was a frontier time for the industry, with the art of the medium being built from the ground up with zero rules, and the industry being somewhere where the star could reinvent themselves, even though it came with a personal cost too. We enter this world through both Margot Robbie's aspiring actress Nellie Leroy and Diego Calva's film assistant Manny Torres being both fictional blends of real people who want to make a name for themselves working in the industry they've always wanted to work in. There's of course the romantic angle between them, but also the spiritual one during both their rapid ascent and eventual downfall in that transitional period. Manny is the man that seeks the American dream and does whatever he can to get the experience on a film set. And this begins via a newfound connection with Brad Pitt's troubled star Jack Conrad, a mature one, but one who also suffers from alcohol abuse and too many relationship issues to count. He's what you could consider as the stereotypical failed star, but one that is infused with a more likeable demeanour as the film goes on, when we see his undying passion for being a part of cinema's history. And as seen with Nellie, we also watch how this once risen star faces a period of decline following the premiere of The Jazz Singer in 1927, a film that initiates the introduction of sound to cinema. Throughout Babylon, we move in and out of moments in Hollywood history, seeing the inner world of cinema to its most wonderful and its most bizarre. Whether that be parties with orgies, crashing elephants and heavy drug usage, the insane and experimental processes on a film set before its transformation, or the huge challenges afterwards with the arrival of sound. This is all approachable through the three central characters we follow, each having their own dramatic paths, but ones that intersect to make the storytelling motifs hit that much harder by the end. Each of them experience both the glory that the industry can bring, but then also the cruelness of the studio system too. With that, Babylon tackles the best and worst aspects of Hollywood, which instantly answers the critique of Chazelle being too sentimental. Yes, he is at times in this film and his previous work, but it's evident that he isn't afraid to tackle the difficult topics as well. I think it's a mistake to believe that this film portrays its use of excess purely for entertainment's sake, and that's because we aim in on the cost of being immortal. We see what it takes to achieve that one perfect moment, whether it be the tear that Nellie has to form in one of her opening acting roles, and then the cost of being immortal, like when we see how Brad Pitt's Conrad has to learn the truth about his dying career in the industry. That moment is one of my absolute favourite scenes of the year, and the way that Jean Smart's Eleanor tells Jack straight that he's essentially done, but that his memories on screen will be like lost relics picked up by future generations, is the sort of moment that really helps the viewer feel what this once known star is now feeling. They are all characters that on the surface we shouldn't really find an attraction or a connection to, but scenes like this demonstrate the inner passion that they truly have towards the medium. In a way, we all want to fulfill our dreams, leave an impact and be remembered, and characters like Jack make that clear regardless of their faults, addictions, or eventual downfalls. It's remained clear that Damien Chazelle loves Hollywood, and he's very aware that the industry was built on exploitation. but he also understands that the reason it has remained an attraction is because of the magic and dreams that it can give too. And what we got in Babylon was a perfect cocktail of those very principles. In Chazelle's film, Hollywood is shown as a tough journey, one that literally portrays the insanity and loss of hope with every spectacle on screen. For instance, right from the start, we're shown a typical Hollywood party in the 1920s, and we witness stars involved in a drug-fueled affair at a studio's mansion. But upstairs, one of the actresses suffers from an overdose, and the only way that they can distract the other attendees so that they can carry her outside is to literally introduce more spectacle by releasing an elephant into the room. Of course, the real elephant is the abundant excess that these stars and workers turn to. So right from the start, we know that Chazelle is giving us a very different film about Hollywood, and one that is directly speaking about its troubled yet transformative history, both when it comes to production and with the stars involved. We're shown that the production work and the studio in the pre-sound era could be just as disorderly as the private party we saw unfold before. There are romances, westerns, epic war dramas shot side by side in chaotic fashion, and then later on in the film, when we see that the indoor studios are now using sound, that there's an added layer of intensity with being precise using almost everything. I'm particularly referencing that standout scene where Margot Robbie's Nellie is put through the most hilariously frustrating ordeal of filming a take repeatedly, only for the sound guys to constantly tell the cast and crew that the finest bit of sound is being picked up and disrupting the takes. They filmed tens of takes with us becoming just as frustrated as Robbie's character, and it shows us the difficulties for them of transitioning to that period when sound was introduced. But one message remains in both the outdoor and indoor processes on screen in both the pre-sound and during the sound era, and that is the pull and tug between the passion of the movie star against the decisions they have to make. This leads directly into my love for the ending of this film, and something that stems from the corporate transformation of the industry. We see earlier on in the moment between Brad Pitt's Jack and Eleanor that Babylon's central message really starts to build. As Jack is told about his career being pretty much over, deep down you can feel that he refuses to let go of what he's passionate about, and that also leads to his very tragic end. Eleanor says to him in what has become my favourite line from the film, "One day every person in every film will be dead. One day those films will be pulled out and all their ghosts will dine together. A child born in 50 years will stumble upon your image flickering on a screen and feel he knows you like a friend." Comparing this to Manny's downfall after trying to help out Nellie, we learn how Chazelle is comparing both that previously mentioned passion against the very cynical questioning of Hollywood's inner structure. Instead of just being a pure love letter to the industry, we're shown how it can suck in and exploit a lower class worker and then eventually spit them back out. But with all these problems and complications, the ending segment of Babylon is where Chazelle tries to show us the passionate side to this conflict too. In particular, the final scene builds on the most known example of the silent era on film with 1952's Singing in the Rain. Manny returns to Hollywood years after his horrific ordeal, goes outside the studio he once was a producer at, and then eventually to an actual theatre where, like him, we watch the transformation of cinema on the big screen. We close in on his tears, which could mean one of two things. Either he cries at the transcendence of cinema before his eyes, or he's reliving the pain that he suffered during that period of working in the industry. Of course, Chazelle leaves the ending unclear, but I think the feeling I had watching this was that, like when we first meet Manny, he has a dedication and passion to see this industry be successful, even if he had a terrible experience at times and saw what the inner workings of the industry could do to people. He saw that in both himself and in Nellie. And with Chazelle using segments of footage from transformational theatrical experiences on the big screen, like A Trip to the Moon, Singing in the Rain, Wizard of Oz, The Matrix, Avatar, and countless others in that final moment, I think he's telling us that the cinema screen can inspire and go beyond what we think are its limits. And that's why I think Manny cries when he sits there. He loves cinema, he was always and still is passionate about it, and is emotionally transcended by how far it continues to go. And I guess that's also a message to today's generation of filmmakers too, in that we can push things forward even further and continue to inspire with storytelling in new ways. It really was the kind of ending that will stick with me, and with the final 15 minutes of Whiplash, I think Chazelle has really solidified himself as one of the best at ending modern day features. Everything we saw unfold in the build-up led to that powerful message about cinema at the end, and it links into that brilliant scene with Jack and Eleanor that I mentioned before. And that is that the history of cinema will always be there, but that there can also be a bright future too. Things constantly change in the industry, and the star has to adapt to that transformation as well. It's not just the messages that, to me, make it a really understated film, but I also think that a film like this has to be shot with authenticity and approached with care when it comes to each element of the filmmaking. The film's vision of the 1920s may be outlandish, but it's never not genuine. From Justin Hurwitz's heavy jazz score to its surprising contemporary aesthetic and relatable Hollywood narrative, to its costume design, cinematography, and superb editing, there's a clear sense that this is Chazelle's most meticulous work yet.